For lunch. This is our last together session, and we're going to, if we can, go ahead and get started. We have about 35 minutes before the noon hour, and we will try to keep ourselves on schedule for lunch, and looking forward to the 1 o'clock session, which is the nuts and bolts of evangelism. It's the get started session. So this is the last principled teaching session. I hope that it's going to propel this church to even greater works. I've been really impressed with the congregation. I already knew I was in for a treat when I got here, because I know Andy Baker and his wife, and I know the good work that's being done here by reputation. So I've been certainly, it's just fallen, it's well ahead of expectations. You guys are just really doing a good work, and have so much potential to do better. You're already doing good. I just hope this seminar helps you just excel at what you're already doing. And I'm probably going to learn a lot from you. When I get that relationship established with your elders, I know that you can teach me a lot, and I can share it with other churches. You're a kind, gracious group of people, and I pray this will just add to the evangelistic fervor that you already have. Thankful for the opportunity again to be here. This is our last together session, and this is going to tackle the problems of evangelistic Bible studies. When the problems rise, what do you do? Well, some of us hide. We're scared to death. They're going to ask a question. I'm not going to know the answer to it, so I better just not do it. And they're going to raise up some issue, and I don't know how to handle it, and so it'd be better just to let the preacher do it. Brethren, preacher evangelism is a failure. We cannot expect our preachers to do all the evangelism. It doesn't work. At best, you'll maintain, you don't grow. If you want to grow, get the members involved. But you got to train the members how to do it. You got to help them become comfortable. Share with them and show them that there is no problem God cannot overcome. In 2 Peter 1 and 3, according to his divine power, he has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness. That means he's answered every question. There isn't anything you can experience that God does not know how to deal with. And so we just need to respect and rely upon Scripture and know that God is going to answer any problems that you have. Her name's Callie Hudson. And she walked into the side door. She sat down right next to Clifton Hackett. I know you don't know Callie Hudson. I didn't know Callie Hudson. I knew Clifton Hackett. The Hacketts are family, members of the church. They hardly ever miss. Clifton might miss for work occasionally, but their family's faithful. Now, Callie, don't know her. I walk up, name's Rob, my wife Nicole. So I'm Callie. This is Clifton's girlfriend. It's easy to see. And so Callie starts coming. This is a contact. I love contacts. Now we're going to prospect. We're going to prospect this contact. And so we're going to surround her with kindness. We're going to get to know her. She's listening to sermons. I watch her. Her eye contact. She's listening. She's taking notes. She's singing. Got the song book open or using the PowerPoint. She's praying. She got her head bowed. She don't miss a service. She's there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, more faithful than some of our church members are. And so Callie, you can count on. Clifton goes to work. You know where Callie is? At worship. She don't miss. Man, I said, Clifton, you got a jewel here. He said, man, I think so, Rob. He said, man, I don't want to go any further, though. He says, I will only marry a Christian. Can you help me? And I said, I can. I said, Clifton, we need her in our house. I said, she like games? She loves them. All right, we have game night Monday night. Whatever it is she loves, we're going to have it. I said, all right, game night. I said, tell her that whatever night she's free, we've got game night at our house. We'll come over and get to know her. I said, the Bible study, I've already baptized her. I mean, it's already happened. I said, we just need to get her in the house. And he says, sounds good. I said, so some weeks passed, and finally Clifton called me. I said, oh, man, this is great. Hey, Clifton, how you doing? He said, Rob. He said, have you heard the news? I said, well, what's going on? He said, Rob, Callie's dad. He's had a heart attack. I said, oh, man, Clifton, no. I said, this is terrible. He says, yeah, but Rob, I said, what hospital, Clifton? I'll be right there. He says, Rob, he didn't make it. I said, oh, no, Clifton. I said, I don't, I'm so sorry. I said, He said, but Rob, he says, now what are we going to do? I said, what do you mean? He said, how are we going to fix this now? I said, well, Clifton, he said, Rob, we were supposed to do a Bible study. He says, there's no way we can do that study now. You know what she's going to ask you. Clifton, I don't know. But I know this. This church has got to surround Callie with love. I said, we need the cards sent. We need the food prepared. We need the food delivered. We need the prayers offered. We need the hugs to start. We need the people that line up at the funeral home. We need to make sure Callie knows there's no family on earth that loves her more than the church of Christ. And the church did her job. They surrounded Callie with the kindness that she needed to get her through the most difficult moment in her life. And do you know where Callie was the next service time? When some of our members take a 3-month hiatus from the church, Callie's sitting in the pews and worshiping God. She didn't miss. And she's special. Callie's hurting. People went up and hugged her. She cried. Clifton, I said, I tell you what, I said, we need a little time. I said, Callie needs to heal a little bit, and timing is everything. And I said, I need some time myself because I need to study this. I said, I know there's a way to answer her question. It will be asked. It will be asked. I said, give her the book. It's back in our evangelism table, Muscle and a Shovel. Grab it, give it to her, let her read it. That'll give us time. He grabbed the book, gave it to Callie, called me a couple days later. I said, hey, Clifton. I said, did you give Callie the book? He said, sure did. I said, great, that'll buy us a time. Rob, she's finished. I said, finished? I said, that'd take me a month to read that book. He said, Rob, she wants to know more about the Bible. I said, Clifton, this can't wait. I said, get her to the house and we'll take care of it. And so what happens is that Callie comes over to the house in Clifton one night, and they're talking, and we're visiting, and then Nicole and I are just, we're just making her feel comfortable. Hannah's made one of her sweet desserts, and we're the shields have dropped. There's no barrier at all. And I said, Callie, would you like to know more about the church here at Willette? She says, I sure would. I just so happen to have these booklets. John 8:32, honey, grab the Bibles. And green booklet. And we get the green booklets, we circle them around, we open it up, John 8:32. You should know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Callie, do you know what goes in the first blank? She says truth. I said, write it down. She wrote down the word truth. We went to John 4:24. We just started going through the Bible study. Callie loves it. And Callie, she gets all the answers right. In fact, when I finished the study, I asked the question I always ask, Callie, did you learn anything in this study? Not really. Huh? I knew all that, Mr. Rob. I've been studying. I've been listening to you. I knew we weren't under the old law. And I said, well, great, Callie. I said, would you like to do the second study? She said, sure would. So we get the second study going, and we're going through the material in the scriptures, and everything's going really well. Callie, she puts the answers in the blank. I know what she's learning contradicts what her family believes. I know it. She always puts the right answer. Callie, any questions about this? No. If it's in the Bible. I said, great. I talked to Nicole. I said, honey, this last study is going to be really hard. I said, she will need you. Sit real close to her. She doesn't see it coming. We sit around the table and we started. And just like always, Callie's smiling. She's answering all the questions. Sin, universality of sin, the consequences of sin, the hope from sin. Hear the gospel. Believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. Repent of your sins. Confess his name. And then she learned she needed to be baptized. The problem with that study is that Callie understood all too well. She's not really worried about herself. And she cried. Tears just poured out of her eyes. I felt so helpless. She sobbed. Nicole put her arms around her and just patted her. I know what she wants to ask. She hasn't had the strength to ask me. She can't even get the words out. Clifton sitting to the side. And I said, Callie, I think I know what you want to ask me, but you can't. I said, let me talk for you. Callie, you want to ask me about your daddy. She picked her head up. She said, Mr. Rob? Yes. I said, Callie, I understand that. I said, I know that. And I said, but I don't know your dad. And I said, I need some help. I said, Callie, was your dad a good man? And she says, yes, Mr. Rob, he was a good man. I don't know her dad. Callie, was he a religious man? Yes, he was a religious man. Callie, was he an honest man? Yes, Mr. Rob, he was very honest. He always took us to church. He did the right thing. I said, Callie, Luke 16, there's an example for every situation. You know what Luke 16 is about, right? Remember the rich man and Lazarus? Oh, Father Abraham, if I could just come back, I would teach my brothers. Can I come back and teach them? Can I tell them about what I've learned? Callie, if your dad could talk to you right now, I'm so glad we've got the Bible. I don't have to make this up. Callie, if your dad could talk to you right now, if he could come back, if he could speak to you, being a good man, being an honest man, and being a religious man, what would your dad, did anybody ever teach your dad this? No, Mr. Rob. I said, being a good, religious, and honest man, what would your dad want you to do? What would he tell you to do? She said, my dad would tell me to do what the Bible says. I said, I think that's exactly what he'd tell you to do. Callie, let's go do what the Bible says. Let's be baptized. And she got up from the table. We started walking. We're heading to the baptistry. Callie got it. Smart girl. She understood. She knows that's what anyone who's lost and came back would tell you to do what the Bible says. There are no atheists in hell. Let me be very clear. They're always going to tell you to do what the Bible says. God is giving you an answer for just about every situation under the sun. We're heading to the baptistry, and Callie gets about halfway there, and Callie stops. She turns around and walks right back to the table. Sits back down on that table, and I look at Nicole, and I was like, well, honey, what just happened? And Callie looks at me, and she looks okay. I said, Callie, is everything all right? She says, yes. She said, but Mr. Rob, I want to wait on my brother. Her brother, Chandler, just started coming to church. And I said, well, Callie, I said, that's admirable. You want to wait on your brother, but I know exactly what's going on. Let me be very clear. Satan doesn't give up easily. When you're in the mouth of Satan, you don't get out easily. He's going to close it up. He's going to keep you there. And you know what Satan's greatest tactic is? Tomorrow. Tomorrow. You got all your life. Why do you have to do it right now? You don't have to do it right now. There's no urgency to this. I mean, just you need to think about it. And by the way, you're not good enough anyway. You're not good enough to obey. You got to make some changes first. See, when you get good enough, then you can obey. I mean, he'll come up with every tactic under the sun. Got to talk to daddy first. Go home and talk to your preacher and deliberate. You're not old enough. Nope, not responsible enough. You're going to go back to your old self. Oh, he's good, isn't he? Oh, he's good at it. And, if you do this, you're admitting you've been wrong all those years. You really want to admit that and let everybody laugh at you? You know what that decision says to everybody around you? Come on, just put it off. Oh, he's the master deceiver. Don't underestimate your enemy. He's good at what he does. God is better. He's always better. Brethren, the cross always wins if you believe in it. If you use it, God will always win. And I'm not about to let Satan win. I looked at Callie and I said, Callie, you're right. I want your brother to be saved. Do you? I do, Mr. Rob. I said, I can't think of a better way for him to be saved than for you to teach him by the example you're about to set. See, I know this. People don't normally travel down roads. Others don't travel down first. I said, Callie, someone's got to be the first. Someone's got to show him the way. I said, Callie, show your brother the way. If it's important, show him the way. If it's not important, don't do it. Just wait. God bless Callie Hudson. She knew. She got it. Satan didn't get her. She said, you're right. She says, I need to show my brother the way. I said, you do. She got up from that table and we walked right over to the baptistry and she was baptized. Satan may give you a reprieve for a season, but he will be back. He doesn't stop. When Jesus was tempted, Satan left for a season, but he came back. See, he won't give you a rest for too long. So Callie's excited. She's ready. I mean, things are going well. Nicole and I, Jared and Hannah, we went to Bible camp right after that. I thought things were well. I'm so pleased. Clifton's girlfriend, Callie's obeyed the gospel. Smooth road ahead. No. Callie eventually is going to tell her mom, hey, Mom, I need to talk to you. Yes, sweetheart, what do you need? Mama, I've been having these Bible studies down there with Clifton, and we learned about, the church, and I learned about baptism, and Mama, I decided to become a Christian. You did what? Mama, I was baptized. What? Callie, what do you mean baptized? You were already a Christian. But Mama, I learned in the Bible, he that believes and is baptized. Callie, what do you mean you learned in the Bible? Callie, you know we don't believe like that. Callie, you were saved a long time ago. You just got on your, you just said Jesus, and you did the prayer, and what do you mean, what do you learn about this baptism stuff? Callie, how dare you do this? But Mama, I was studying in the, Callie, how dare you dishonor your father like that? And she just cried. She's sobbing. Clifton calls me. He says, Rob, he says, things are a wreck. He said, Rob, what am I going to do? He says, man, Callie's crying, her mom's screaming at her, and I'm caught in the crossfire. What are we going to do now, Rob? He said, I said, Clifton, I know exactly what you need to do. Call your shepherds. When sheep are in trouble, you call the shepherds. You don't call the preacher, call the shepherds. That's their job. You call those elders, because I promise you those elders have the wisdom to help her through this, and they did. They called Hugh Wayne Clark. Hugh Wayne says, Clifton, you and Callie come to our house tonight. Miss Joe will make a dinner. Always eat. Joe makes the dinner, puts it on the table. Callie and Clifton eat. Callie's real quiet that night. She doesn't say a lot. Hugh Wayne looks to her and says, honey, I know what's going on. I heard. Mr. Hugh Wayne, it's so bad. My mama hates me. Oh, she don't hate you, honey. No, she doesn't. But my mama said things, and I know, Callie. Mr. Hugh Wayne, I don't know what to do. I said, Callie, I want you to listen to me. This is hard at your age. I want you to listen real carefully, because the actions you take now will determine where you spend eternity. In fact, they may determine where your mother spends eternity. Callie, your mother, she's going to tomorrow get up, and she's going to be this much less unhappy with you. You won't notice the difference. And then the next week, this much less happy. You probably won't even notice the difference. And about 3 months from now, this much less happy. She's going to get up one morning and say, Callie, let's go shopping. It's going to happen. You know why? Because you're a good girl and your mother loves you. It will happen. Not today. I don't know when it will happen, but it will. But regardless, Callie, if you want your mother to obey the gospel, stay the course. If you give up, if you go back, she'll never obey the gospel. Callie, the only way you make a difference in her life is you be faithful. And you won't do it alone. Callie will walk with you, will be by your side. Your church family will hold you, love you, help you in any way that we can. Callie, we love you. God loves you. Don't give up. You know where she was Sunday? Sitting in the pew worshiping God. I pray God some of our brethren would have that much faith. She never missed. That's Chandler, her brother. We're not done. I just need you to do one study. Just one. I said, Callie, you need to study with Chandler. But Mr. Rob, my mama won't let Chandler come to church. I know I can't do it. You need to do it. I can't study with Chandler, Rob. Back to the Bible, green, blue, red, right back there. Grab them. John 8:32. It's not hard. You think I can do it? I said, I know you can. You and Clifton go grab back to the Bible and go study with Chandler. So they went back to Chandler's house, Callie's house. They walked upstairs. Chandler's in his room. You know what Chandler was doing? He was watching the sermon from Sunday morning on the internet. Chandler, do you always watch Rob's sermon? Mama won't let me come to church. I guess all I can do is watch, listen. And they started back to the Bible. Book 1, John 8:32. Chandler fills it out. They're going through the study together. And I don't even know. Nicole and I have no idea this is even going on. I think it's going on. I hope it is. I don't know. Until several months later, I get a phone call on Sunday morning. We're getting ready. I remember we're in the bathroom. My phone rang. And I said, well, Nicole, that's kind of odd, the phone ringing. And I picked it up. And hello, Mr. Rob? Yes. Who's speaking? This is Chandler. Oh, Chandler. Chandler, yeah, how things going? He says, all right. Mr. Rob, I've been doing these Bible studies. I said, yes, back to the Bible. He said, yes. He said, Clifton and Callie, my sister, they've been doing them with me. I said, yes. I said, I understand. Mr. Rob, would you baptize me this morning? Oh, Chandler, I'd love to. I said, have you told your mom? No, Mr. Rob. I said, Chandler, you must tell your mom. It's the right thing to do. It's never wrong to do the right thing. But Mr. Rob, I'm afraid of what I know you are, son. I said, but you need to talk to your mama. You need to tell her how important this is. In fact, let's pray about this right now. We're going to pray right now for your mama. And I said, tell her the truth. Tell her how important this is. Tell her you've been studying the Bible and that you want to do this and you want her to be there for you. And I don't know, Chandler. Just pray about this and see what happened. But I'll be waiting for you. I will be there. I got to the church building that morning, and people were gathering around, coming in, and I saw Chandler walk in the left-hand side of the building. I ran up to him. I know we tell our children not to run, but I did. I ran up to him. I hugged him. I said, son, tell me the good news. He said, Rob, Mama says I could be baptized, and she's on her way to watch. You could have heard a pin drop when Benita walked in that church building right before the Lord's Supper. Peter was interrupted 2,000 years ago, and they baptized 3,000. I got up in the pulpit and I said, church, this morning we've been interrupted and we'll baptize one. You don't have to have an invitation song to baptize. And we did. Will you just do one Bible study? Can you do just one? John 8:32, green booklet. It's not hard. Just do a Bible study. We got brand new Christians doing Bible studies. Why can't we do Bible studies? Why can't we get the booklets and go and sit down with a friend, a family member, a coworker, sit around a kitchen table, open our Bibles and do a Bible study? Because if you do that, his name is Marshall. Marshall's Chandler's friends. I never stop. Marshall was sitting next to Chandler one Sunday morning. I walked over and said, hey, my name's Rob. He said, my name's Marshall. Marshall Rivera. Hey, your dad's running for sheriff, isn't he? Yeah, my dad is. I'm a son. I said, well, man, glad to meet you, Marshall. I said, have you enjoyed the service? Yeah, I sure have. How y'all family? No, that's my best friend. We play football together. I said, well, that's great. I said, I'm glad to hear that. I said, I tell you what. I said, here, Marshall says, Mr. Rob, I need to go get something. I said, well, go get something. I looked down at Chandler. I said, Chandler, have you done a Bible study with Marshall yet? No. I said, red, green, blue booklet, John 8:32. Grab the booklets, Chandler. Me? I said, yeah, grab the booklet. Go do a Bible study. You think I can do a study? I said, I know you can do the study. And he did. How many of your friends will you bring to Christ? None if you don't do a Bible study. 0. Do a Bible study. Oh, who knows what you'll do? Chandler does the Bible study. This is my last Sunday morning at Willette. It's my last Sunday as a full-time gospel preacher in the pulpit. From that day forward, all I've done is train churches. And Marshall came forward. He sat on the front pew. I walked over to him. I said, son, why have you come? He said, Mr. Rob, as a last act as a preacher here, would you baptize me? I've done the studies. And I said, son, I'd be glad to. I need you to do a Bible study, brethren. I need you just to do one. People are depending on you. You know that, right? You know you have people depending on you. I don't know them. I can't do it for you. Your preacher can't do it for you. You can do it. You've known them all your life. I can't imagine in the judgment day, these people that you've known all your life looking at you and said, why didn't you tell me? I thought we were friends. I thought you cared about me. Why didn't you tell me about this? There's no problem you can experience in a Bible study you can't overcome with God's help. Not one. Doesn't matter if it's family, doesn't matter if friends, doesn't matter if it's the sinner's prayer, because they're going to bring it up. But my preacher told me if you say this prayer, you'll be saved. Go to page 88. I'll show you. It's not hard. It doesn't matter what they say because God's word answers all of it. I just go to page 88. I said, tell me which one of those is the sinner's prayer. They read it, and I said, let's read it together. Option number 1, call on the name of the Lord, sins forgiven, saved, and later you're baptized. Option number 2, baptized, sins are washed away, saved. Now you call on the name of the Lord. Which one of those did you do? Oh, I did option 1. My pastor told me if you just get in Jesus, and in Jesus' name, and you're saved. And I said, so are you sure option 1 is the one that you did? I'm positive. That's the right one. I said, let's read Acts 22:16. Huh? I said, let's read the Bible. Oh, you're not going to tell me which one's right? No, I don't debate. I defer. I just read the Bible. Read that for me. Acts 22:16, arise and be baptized and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. Do you know which option that is, by the way? Anybody pick this up? I bet some of you saw it. Option number 1 is Acts 22:16 written backwards. Write it backwards, you get option 1. See that? Write it forward, you get option 2. I've never had anyone select option 2. Surprise, surprise. Because the religious world always teaches option 1. Satan is the master at deceit. He always takes God's word and flips it upside down. He's been doing it since the Garden of Eden. Dear friends, all you got to do is show them. I mean, when a person sees Acts 22:16, it's not hard to pick option 2. So I'll look at them and say, which one of those is right? They say, well, option 2. I said, okay, let's keep studying. Huh? Preacher, they got it wrong. Aren't you going to tell them? No, that's not my job. Preacher, aren't you going to tell them they're lost? No, not my job. Preacher, aren't you going to, preacher, what do you mean go on? Study the Bible. They'll get it. You don't have to rub their nose in it. They're going to get it. Let people read the Bible. If you let people read the Bible, they will get it. So I just keep the Bible study going forward. I don't stop. I am focused on one thing. Get them to the cross. I want Romans 6:3 and 4. Because that's where they're going to make their decision. What about my religious experience? Well, that was Sheila Birdwell. Sheila Birdwell, we started the study, and immediately, Miss Sheila said, now, Rob, before we go any further, I need to tell you about my religious experience. And I said, Sheila, tell me all about it. Y'all remember this from last night? You know, the lightning struck the tree, the rain was falling, the thunder was crackling, and she was going down the road late at night. And all of a sudden, the tree fell over on fire, and it came across the road, and Sheila said, Rob, I was about to die, and I closed my eyes, and the Holy Spirit took over. You don't believe me, do you? The Holy Spirit took over. I said, Sheila, whatever you say. The Holy Spirit took over and it guided me around. And I got down and Rob and I had the experience, and I told the church, and they voted on me, and I became a Christian. It was wonderful. It was my religion. I wrote every word down she said. I didn't challenge her. I did not tell. Now, Sheila, you know that's not how let's do a Bible study on the Holy Spirit. That's the last thing we need to be doing. No, I didn't challenge her. I didn't tell her she's telling this is not true. I just let her talk. Just tell me the story. Can I tell you what happened after she was baptized? I didn't finish the story. See, after Sheila became a Christian, she said, hey, Rob, Nicole, come on over. I'll fix y'all lunch. She loves to fix Sunday dinner. So we would come on over, and we would go ahead and sit down, and we'd eat our spaghetti dinner. We always have the spaghetti dinner, and the breadsticks, and the salad, and the chocolate chip cookies. And so we finish it all, and Sheila said, now, Rob. I said, yes, Sheila. She said, you know that religious experience I told you about? I said, yes, the tree fell down, the lightning struck, and the Holy Spirit. Yes, that one. I said, I still think it happened like that. And I said, it probably did, Sheila. I don't know. I said, but it really doesn't matter anymore, does it? Pick your battles wisely. It was a year later. We're sitting at the house, probably eating the same spaghetti dinner. I don't remember. And we've just finished, and we're sitting there talking. And she said, now, Rob, I need to tell you something. I said, I've been thinking now. I said, yes, Sheila. She said, now, you know that religious experience I told you about a year ago? I said, yes, the tree falls over, the lightning strikes, the Holy Spirit takes over. Yes, that one. I still haven't forgotten it. Rob, I don't know if any of that happened anymore. I just don't know where I came up with that. I said, Sheila, it's all right. It doesn't matter, does it? Okay, I just wanted you to know that. What would have happened if I would have challenged her integrity and said, you liar. You know that's not what happened. You Pentecostal. We don't believe things like that. I mean, what kind of study would that have made? We wouldn't have had a study. And neither would she be saved. What if they're living together? That was Evan. Remember I told you I had a problem? The study was going so well, someone in the community said, Rob, I think Amy's moved in with Evan secretly. Nothing stays quiet in a small town. I told Nicole, I said, Nicole, I think we got a problem. Nicole and I have dealt with this before. And I said, we can't baptize them. She says, no, we can't, Rob. And I said, we got to strategize. I always have a strategy. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get to Acts 2:38. And it was that night we're at Acts 2:38. I said, hey, Evan, I said, read that for me. He said, repent and be baptized. I said, yes, what goes in the first blank? He says, repent. I said, good, let's write it down. Nicole, I think we've done enough of the study tonight. Hannah, bring the cookies. We're done. And he says, done? He said, but Rob says to be baptized. I said, I know, but I think we've done enough right now. But Rob, we need to go on. I said, Evan, I think we need to talk a little bit. Can I tell you guys a story? He said, well, sure. I said, Nicole and I met this couple several years ago, and they were living together. Their eyes got real big, and they just listened. I told them the whole story about how we did the baptism, Bible study, married them, did all that, got it all worked out, successful, happily ever after. I just thought y'all like to know about that story. Would you guys like to go talk? I'll tell you what, why don't you go talk, and then when you're comfortable, call us, and we'll finish the study. How about that? Okay. They walked out of the house and shut the door, and Amy looked over at Evan. He said, Evan, I think they know about us. Of course we know about them. The whole town knows about them. So I go off, and I go that next week. I'm at polishing the pulpit. I'm teaching this very lesson. That's the first time I taught it. I came back, and we're sitting there visiting a little bit, and Nicole and I are, and the phone rings. I said, hey, Nicole, it's Amy. Hey, Amy, what's going on? Rob, I can't do this anymore. I said, do what, Amy? Rob, I can't live like this anymore. I said, well, live like what? Rob, I'm done. I said, Amy, what are you done with? I just wanted her to tell me. Rob, I moved in with Evan, and we're living together. I said, I know that, Amy. Rob, I'm moving out. I said, Amy, where are you going? To live with my grandmother? I said, okay. Rob, would you meet me at the church building and baptize me? I said, I'll be right there. Good, because Evan will be right behind me. And he was. If you don't have the courage to tell someone the truth, please don't do Bible studies. Don't lie to people. Just tell them the truth. They want the truth. They want to know. Several years ago, Scarlett was approached by her husband. He did a Bible study. She obeyed the gospel. She told her preacher, I want someone to teach my mama. And he called me, and I did a Bible study with Jackie and Sheila. They obeyed the gospel. Then I did a Bible study with Amy and Evan, and they obeyed the gospel. Someday, they will do a Bible study with Everly and Kyson, and they will obey the gospel too. Would you just do one study? Not every issue is comfortable. Some are very uncomfortable. This is the most uncomfortable issue, so I'm going to hit it head on because I've dealt with it on multiple occasions. One day you're going to sit down with somebody and they're going to ask you about marriage, divorce, and remarriage, and that was Sharon and Jimmy Fisher. We were sitting in their house and Sharon said, now Rob, in my first marriage, And it deflated me. This is the last thing I want to deal with when I meet somebody. And she said, now in my last marriage, Rob, and I didn't ask any questions. I didn't pursue it, but I hesitated. They're not ready. We're not ready for a discussion on marriage, divorce, and remarriage. I'm not going to go down that road, but I'm going to listen. I'm going to take notes. I can't ignore it. I love them too much to ignore it. See, it takes a lot of love to tell people the truth. It's easy to lie to people. It's easy to ignore things. By the way, if you ignore sin, it doesn't make them saved. I don't know if there's any sin committed here. I don't know. I'll find out, but not today. So I punted. Sometimes it's okay to punt. Sometimes you need to punt. Because if you don't punt, you're going to get scored on. And I'm not going to let that happen. The Lord will win if you give him time. The Lord takes time to win. And so you got faith. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. They need faith. They need to read their Bibles. We need to allow them time to study and to learn and to grow and to germinate. And that's what we did. We met with them multiple times and we studied the Bible. Eventually, as we're studying the Bible, you can see that glimmer of hope. You can see the faith growing. You can see you can see so much good being done. It was the last study. We were in the very last study, John 16:12. I got it keenly memorized. Jesus said, I have yet many things to say unto you, but you cannot bear them now. I'm very aware that I cannot teach them until they're ready. That's why I didn't teach them the first time I met them. That's why I didn't teach them the second time I met them. That's why I didn't teach them the third time I met them. We're now at the fifth time, sixth time. And we've gone out to eat several times. Hey, Jimmy, Sharon, do you see that verse? We're in the red booklet, by the way. I think this is page 3 in your red booklet. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of heaven? Be not deceived, neither fornicators. Hey, Jimmy, do you know what a fornicator is? He said, yes, Rob, I think I do. I said, that's okay. Sharon, do you know what an idolater is? She says, yes, those are those people that worship gold things. I said, close enough. Hey, guys, you know what an adulterer is? Not sure, Rob. And I said, well, let's talk about it. I'll tell you what. Let's go to Matthew 19. Everybody go to Matthew 19. I'm going to give you a 3-minute lesson on marriage, divorce, and remarriage. It's real simple. And I got this from the old preachers. If you want a simple lesson, go to the old preachers. They don't complicate things. They boil it right down to the facts. Here it is. Verse number 3, Matthew chapter 19. The Bible says they came to Jesus and they said, Jesus, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? They wanted to trick him. They didn't care about the truth, and Jesus knew it, but he's going to teach them. How do you teach a person the truth about marriage, divorce, and remarriage? You take them to the book. You read the Bible. Look at the first thing Jesus said in Matthew 19, verse 4. Brethren, can we not do that? Can we not learn from the master? This is how you answer people. Have you not read? Read the Bible. If you want someone to know what they need to do to be saved, read the Bible. That's all I want Jimmy and Sharon to do. Just read the Bible. Let's read. He that made them at the beginning made them male and female. It's been true for 6,000 years. And if the earth stands, it'll be true for another 6,000 years. There are boys and girls, period. Males and females. I used to not have to say that. But we have politicians that don't seem to know the difference. Now, verse number 5. And said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his flesh, and they shall be twain one flesh, shall cleave to each other. The leaving and cleaving principle. So God makes marriage. Watch this. Therefore, what God has joined together. Preachers don't join people. Judges don't join people. Presidents don't join people. God does the joining. And God always does the joining according to his law. It doesn't matter what the president says. It doesn't matter what your governor says. It doesn't matter what the state Supreme Court says. It doesn't matter what anybody says. Marriage is always going to be done by God according to his law. He'll never violate it. Therefore, I know this. Doesn't matter that the judge says 2 men are married. They're not married, are they? Right? Hey, by the way, can you go out there and take another man's wife? No. Why? Because it's against the law of God. You get one wife. You can't take another man's wife and steal her. How about if she's willing to let me steal her? Doesn't matter. Because That's not the law of God. The law of God says that God makes the marriage. And God always makes that marriage according to his law. And you know what else it says? Look at this. What God has joined together, let not man put asunder. God is the only one that can dissolve a marriage. And God never does that dissolving, but according to his law. No marriage is ever dissolved unless it follows the law of God. If you don't follow the law of God, that marriage isn't dissolved. But I don't like her anymore. It doesn't matter. That's not the law of God. I don't love her anymore. I'm out. It doesn't matter. You should have thought about that when you said I do. Because when God joins a marriage, the only thing that separates that marriage is the law of God. What's the law of God? Matthew 19, verse 9, whosoever. It's not that hard. Whosoever. I read it to Jimmy and Sharon. Whosoever putteth away his wife, except it be for fornication, and marries another, committeth adultery. And he that marries her that is put away, committeth adultery. Oh, by the way, Sharon. Do you understand that passage? Uh-huh. Is everything okay? Sure. Are you sure? She said, yeah. Oh, she said, oh, Rob, about my first marriage? I said, yes. Oh, my husband left me for another woman. She got it. She knew. Oh, I'm so thankful. And, but I never stopped with verse 9. He said, what do you mean, preacher? We always stop with verse 9. No, that's a mistake. See, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do something new. I didn't do this for years, and I was cutting off the full power of the Scriptures. I want you to read to the end of the text. Look at verse 10. His disciples said unto him, Jesus, if this is the law, if this is the truth about a man and a woman, it's not good that any of us get married. Oh, Jesus, this is way too constrictive. I mean, the disciples, it scared them to death when they read this passage. When Jesus said that, that was revolutionary. You mean we got to stick with them? Absolutely. But look at verse 11. Jesus said, now I know not all elders will enforce it. Not all preachers will preach it. Not all churches will stick up for it. Do you see what he's saying in verse 11? That's interesting, isn't it? Rob, my version doesn't say that. Oh, yes, it does. Jesus said, all men will not accept this. All elders will not enforce it. All preachers won't preach it. And all members won't like it. That's exactly what he said. Is that not the truth? Boy, Jesus nailed it. But he's not done. Verse number 12 is when he finishes. He says, for there are some eunuchs which are born from their mother's womb. Some men are born, for lack of a better way to say it, and for the etiquette of a mixed audience, they're not fully functional. This is where they're born. It happens. Now, point number 2. Look at, there's 3 points here in verse 12. Then there are some men who've been made eunuchs of men. Sometimes an accident happens at work and you're made a eunuch. Let me guarantee you this. That man serving in the queen's court in Acts chapter 8 before the queen of Candace, that Ethiopian eunuch, he was not fully functional. I promise you that. Something happened. But there's a third category. That's the category that we skip. It's the category that is hard. I don't know if you're in that category. If you are, God bless you. Here it is. Some have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. Do you know there are some people that make themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake? Who are those people? I'll show them to you. Her name is Geneva. Hey, Rob, what's going on, Geneva? I think I need to talk. Are you okay? No. It's about my husband, Rob. He's been married 3 times. Have you ever been married, Geneva? No. This is your first one? Yes. I said, Geneva, I think you need to come talk to me and the elders. Okay. We assembled around the table and she started telling us about her husband. He's not a good man. He's had lots of marriages. None of them right with God. I still remember that discussion I had with Geneva that day. Tears began to stream out of her eyes. And she said, Rob, I want to do the right thing. I said, then do it. And she did. And she has the most loving, large family that she's ever had in her life. That's Christmas. Her children are sitting on the couch. That's our living room. God bless you, Geneva, for making yourselves a eunuch for the kingdom of heaven's sake. If you don't have the courage to tell someone the truth, don't do a Bible study. She separated from her husband because she knew that she was living in adultery. I'll always help a person do what the Bible says. It's not always easy. Repentance is the hardest step to take. Then there's questions about the end times. It's really interesting. And Jimmy is just, he's intent about this Armageddon and Battle of Megiddo and Revelation 666 and Revelation 20 and 1,000 years. And Jesus is coming to set up his kingdom. Do you think I'm going to have a Bible study and all of that? No. I want to remind you real quickly, I got about 5 minutes left, of Matthew 28, 19 through 20. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them. Brethren, you teach, baptize, teach. There are some things that you don't have to teach before a person becomes a Christian, like the books of 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. You have an entire church that doesn't understand the second coming. You think you need to have a Bible study on every Bible doctrine before you baptize them? No. Now, I knew when Jimmy was baptized, he was confused about the second coming of Christ. He isn't anymore because I taught him. What do you do after they become a Christian? Well, I use Growing in Christ. That's what I use. I use Bobby Bates material designed for new converts. It's real simple. It follows the same methodology as Back to the Bible. Fill in the blank. New convert studies are vital. You need them. They're important. What if you have only one opportunity to teach them? I use Does It Matter? Real simple. It's a one method study. If you want me to do it for you, I've recorded it. You just give it to somebody. I'll do the study. But I'd rather you do it with the booklet. Sit down, do a Bible study with them. Does It Matter is one of the simplest Bible studies on the market. If all the Bible studies you could go out to a bookstore and get, that's the easy one. It's simple. I mean, it's a one-study method. It takes Back to the Bible and it condenses it into one study. What if they don't believe in God, the Bible, or Jesus? Believe the Bible. It's 3 studies, just like Back to the Bible. But this one is geared to prove there's a God, prove the Bible's inspired, prove that Jesus is real. You just go back and forth, real simple. You can learn it in just a few minutes. It's called Believe the Bible. It's brand new, by the way. It took me 10 years to develop it. We finally put it to the printer last year, getting great results from it. Believe the Bible. Back to the Bible. Does it matter? Fill your tackle box. What would happen if you made evangelism the focal point of the church and the most important mission in your life? What would happen? I don't know what will happen in 2021, but I can tell you what happened in 2020. In 2020, we had 371 baptisms. That's what happens when churches do Bible studies. It's in America. Now, those are churches that are in our country, and they enrolled in this school, and they made it their mission to get their members out of the pews and do Bible studies. And when churches do Bible studies, churches grow, even during COVID. While some churches were paralyzed and morbid, others were baptizing. I can't wait to preach on Sunday morning, because I'm going to preach a sermon called Evangelism in the Age of COVID. And brethren, I will vaccinate COVID for you. Nothing better than this. God bless you, brethren. We're going to have a bite to eat. Now, let me make sure I make this announcement. And brother, you tell me if I get this wrong. You got some announcements as well. I don't know what the food involves, so he'll let you know. But the next session, the 1 o'clock session, is a split session. It is the getting gear session. I'm going to give you things to do. I'm going to show you how this works in the local church. If you don't know how this works, these principles mean nothing. So I'm not a theory. I want to practice it. I want to show you how to do some of this stuff. So we're going to do that after lunch. My wife will take the ladies. I'll take the men. And our brother has some announcements to make.
Yeah, we want to invite everybody to go